So what did you miss at Jubilee today? Well, as usual, you missed some really great music. My gosh, the music was wonderful and appropriate for our second Sunday of Advent, when we typically hear about John the Baptist, this time from Mark's Gospel. We're here from the prophet Isaiah, comfort my people, comfort my people. And we wondered. Today we heard from Kathy about how she and her daughter Jessica started the backpack program about 5-6 years ago. As you know, last week our youth gave out 40 backpacks to people in need downtown Toronto. Some homeless, some underhoused, all of them cold and looking for connection. So she talked about how 5 years ago she and her daughter did that and held one backpack back for a woman that they always saw in front of the theater when they would go to the theater together, and how they waited a week and went out and looked for her and found her and told her they'd save this bag for her, and the connection that happened between them. This woman feeling noticed and feeling included, and her name is Nicole, and so began a relationship that continues today. Nicole and Kathy have come to know each other and know each other's families and know what they go through and their struggles and their hopes, and it hasn't necessarily magically Disney-like transformed Nicole's life, but it has transformed Kathy's and Jessica's, as they have all together become friends. And it began with backpacks. So we heard that story, and it was meaningful. Anne preached on John the Baptist and wondered why Mark doesn't start with a nativity story, a birth of Jesus story. Instead, he chooses to start his gospel with John the Baptist and being in the wilderness. What a place to start the Christmas story. And she spoke persuasively about the wilderness as places of decision and places where we find God, and we can find peace and meaning, and our opportunity to connect with the unfamiliar and the outside. And it was quite powerful. And then we lit our second Advent candle, which seems late in the service, but we needed to hear all of our stories. And so we imagined building our own nativity scene within our lives. And last week we talked about the shepherds and the people in our lives who are just hanging on, and that this is an invitation, a time for us to connect to them, to invite them in, to open our minds to them. And then thinking about John the Baptist, we talked about adding the Magi today to our life, to our living Advent, our living nativity. The Magi, the ones who talk differently, have a different faith, come from a different place. They dress weird. They're the people that we go, man, those guys are weird. And we recognize that at Christmas we very often spend time with people who share our traditions, share our choices. We eat dinner with the people who like turkey, and we let the ham people eat with the ham people. We gather with the people who prefer the Alistair Sim Christmas Carol and never mind the Jim Carrey animated one. But in fact, if we want to combine our lights, if we want to create a time and place where we can recognize God's presence, we need to open ourselves. We need to open our doors, our tables, our hearts, our minds to the ones that we sometimes think of as being weird, the ones from whom we would distance ourselves, the ones like the Magi or like John the Baptist. And as we are willing to engage with them, we might in fact discover that they offer to us even more than we could even ever offer to them. Much like Nicole and Kathy and Jessica. When we open ourselves up to the ones that we usually shy away from, we can discover ourselves, and we can become better people, and together we can create a better time and place for the divine to appear. We create Christmas. And then we sang, and just because I felt it necessary, I needed to come out at the end of the service dressed in camel hair, eating locusts and yelling at people because Anne dared me to in her sermon. So that's what you missed at Jubilee this Sunday. And hopefully we get to see you soon. We'd love to see you next week. Next week it's going to be all choir driven. It's going to be fantastic music, and we're going to celebrate Mary and Advent 3, and we're going to continue to prepare ourselves to actually be Christmas, not just watch it happen. Until we see you, God bless.